Oh, we're live, you said. Yeah, but you said that before. No, you said we were live before, and then when I played the playback, you cut off my entire intro. No, you're saying we're live now. Uh, well, hello, folks. Uh, Welcome to my very first official live stream that I've ever done. Now, I did two unofficial live streams earlier today, one a whole 5 seconds long. And of course, I did a 2.5 minute test video. And you guys would be doing me a big favor if you'd let me know how the sound is. Is it as good? If any of you are here watching this, that was here earlier, is it as good as it was earlier? Because on playback, it came off real well. Now, why am I doing a live stream? This is the first official, like I said, live stream for the bottom line. Now, I've been thinking of doing a live stream for quite some time, but I've always been too busy with, putting out the videos I put out with, and of course, showing up at Royce's channel. And that's one reason I'm streaming tonight, is because Royce won't be streaming tomorrow night. And I thought, well, let's get one of the panel members up for the weekend anyway, first of all. And when he comes back, I'll be on that stream just like I always am. He is the brother or sister channel to this channel. And I've always appreciated his support. Now, I also told him once that if I ever did get down to doing a live stream, I would never stream against him. And so that's why I'm doing it tonight on a Saturday night. It would always be in congruency with what he's doing and always supporting his channel. Now, what we're going to be covering tonight is kind of a potpourri, as it was, of subjects. I just wanted to introduce myself, first of all. If you are brand new viewers, I am Michael Noland. This is the bottom line. I always say this is the bottom line as I see it, because often in the comments, I get a ton of people who give me their thoughts. They're often not agreeing with me or anything. Let me see if I can activate my chat here just in case I actually got somebody here going. Uh, let's see. Huh? I am live. You're not getting anything. Well, we'll see what's going on here. We may be experiencing technical difficulties. Let's see what we can do here. Hmm. Okay. So we are getting some people. As earlier today, let's see. Where is the sound? So the sound is not coming through. How about on your end? Sounds good. All right. Um, so anyway, that's from somebody that I'm not exactly excited to see. Why don't you go ahead and delete that one, Kimberly? We're not going to put up with the bullshit from people who are going to try and troll this. All right, that's not going to happen. All right, so let's get on beyond this. First of all, um, there's several things we could talk about tonight, folks. All right. Uh, I want to kind of go over what my channel has been about, basically. I go from anything from telling stories. Some videos are dedicated to telling stories about, the classic rock period. Certain albums I'll review. And although I'm not exactly a current event channel, I leave that to other channels who do that like daily. I do keep tabs on top stories, and I cover stories that really uh, bother me for the most part, usually, because I feel like the genre that we've all loved and grown up with has been greatly harmed by how it, as an art form, has been treated both by classic rockers who are still out there touring and by fans and especially the press in foolhardy ventures such as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Now, I've covered stories on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've covered stories on people who use backing tracks. I've covered stories of artists who are demanding $8,000 tickets to go see them. Some of those artists I have a lot of respect for as artists, but not too happy with what they've offered us as rock fans recently. I've covered what I feel about residencies. All right. So all of those things are up for conversation tonight. All right. I'm getting these. It's really hard for me. Oh, that's right. I wanted to see if I could follow this on the phone, and if that's possible, that'll make it a little easier. I am streaming from an iPad, so your comments are coming up in a little square like that. Now, in case anybody else didn't hear that, or you're just getting in on the stream right now, the reason I'm streaming tonight is because Royce isn't going to be streaming tomorrow night. And I thought, hey, let's have somebody from the panel up and do a quick stream and at least cover something for those viewers who have always looked forward to a stream by Royce. I can only do a piss poor imitation of what he does over there, but let's give it a go. Now I'm going to try and bring my channel up and see if I can monitor the comments a little more fashionably this way. Well, I can actually see you folks. Good. All right. Ivan, good to see from you, or to see you there in the comments. Piccolina, Divining Dragon, yes. By the way, Divining Dragon often makes comments here on the channel. I appreciate that. It's good to see you on the live stream and also your comments there on the channel as well. David Hall, let's see. How could you not have Dazed and Confused for Jimmy? Okay, now what is that in response to? Okay. Oh, on my poll. Okay. Oh, good question. Good question. I based that poll on an article that listed the top 10, Jimmy Page thingies, right? And at number 5 was Dazed and Confused. All right. And it was a toss up. What was the other option? I think it was The Ocean, wasn't it? Okay. So, yeah, I'm sorry about that. That was one of those I had to pick one. And the on the list, the deciding factor was it was on the list a little higher on the article I was doing. And Dazed and Confused in the Ocean, they're both two fantastic tracks. But if you ask me, Dazed and Confused is the much superior track. Okay. But the poll was based on someone else's reasonings. Okay. And I worded it that way. Many have thought, or many have said, that type of thing. Okay. So let's see who else here. Rock and Roll Hall of Shame. I'm not a fan of that pseudo institution. Bravo. Bravo, Dragon. I agree. You know what I think about it? Right from the outset, it was probably doomed since Jan Winter, former editor of Rolling Stone and owner at one time, wasn't he? Uh, uh, was part of the crew that put that whole thing together. And as his own memoirs have later brought out, the man is a misogynist and a racist, as far as I'm concerned. And there he stated how certain that black artists and women artists in general in rock aren't as articulate as the artists, which were predominantly white, that he chose to include in whatever. Right from the start, his whole drive has always been based on his own personal feuds with bands. Foreigner got in his way, and he was once quoted as saying, "It'll be a cold day in hell the day that Foreigner is inducted into the Hall of Fame." He must be freezing by now, huh? All right. And then this new guy, John Sykes, all right, he's the new board of directors. He comes out just recently. I've covered this in all my past videos. He comes out just recently and does an entire re-explanation as to what rock and roll was. Okay, and it is insane. Take a look at my last video on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It goes back 7, 8 videos, something like that, and I cover all the aspects on that. Everybody says, well, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ousted Jan Winter, and they're trying to distance themselves from him, which is bullshit, since every person put on that nominating committee, all right, was put in place by him, and even John Sykes was placed as the chairman of the board by Jan Winter. All right, the whole institution stinks. Now, I get a lot of crap from other content creators that go, relax, Noland, it's only a show, it's just a TV show. And to that, I can only reply this, folks. No, it's not, or it shouldn't be. First of all, it's a building, it's a museum, all right? It is an actual carved out, built up hall of fame that presents its winners on a TV show. And I've never had anything to do with that show unless there was just somebody I had to see. And that has, like, I actually tuned in to watch Jimmy Page perform, all right, this last time. So, but for the most part, I don't watch the show. And I have only watched the show since I started this channel because I'm against the show and I should keep up with the show and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if I'm going to sit here and preach from my high, my high throne of indignity. Okay. So that's my answer to that. We could make separate category popular music museums. Yeah. What cities might be best to host each genre? Well, get that conversation going in the comments, brother. I wouldn't know, but I've often thought. See, I've often said this. I'm not against Hall of Fames, all right. But one of my viewers, maybe it was Divining Draggard, said this that you don't nominate Bjorn Borg into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Okay, it's just not done. And so what they're doing now is they are nominating and inducting people from subgenres that, in my opinion, have nothing to do with rock and roll. Now, if you want to know why or how they have anything to do with rock and roll, go to John Sykes' ridiculous explanation, and you'll be convinced that Missy Elliott is a rock and roller. Okay, and you'll be satisfied. I'm not. Now, the reason I'm against this whole institution is this rock and roll has been diminished by the inclusion of obviously not rock acts, and they're trying to homogenize a style of music that had many subgenres, and hip hop and rap aren't one of them. Okay. I've also done videos with thorough explanations as to why their roots aren't. I'll give you an example. Missy Elliott comes from a gospel background, right? Billy Preston comes from a gospel background. By John Sykes' reasoning, that makes her a rock and roller. Bull freaking shit. Okay? Billy Preston went from gospel and played in the rock arena, the rock field. He still had his gospel leanings, right? It even was in his style of playing, and that influenced rock further, I'm sure, right? And so he is a rock and roller. Did Missy Elliott do that? No, of course not. She went into hip hop and that whole whatever style she is or whatever they say she is. And it has nothing to do with her being legitimate in any way just because she has a gospel background. All right. I have a cotton picking background, but I'm not a cotton picker. Okay. There is a big difference about having a background in common with somebody. You can have a background that's in common with Beethoven. That doesn't make you a classical composer of great note or even a classical composer for that matter. All right. So that's my answer on that. Um, life is rock and roll sometimes. Absolutely. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm kind of caught up on that. We've been talking a whole lot on the channel too about other items. As a matter of fact, I'll get my notes on those real quick. Um I was talking about backing tracks. Of course, we've talked about the fact that lately Don Henley's been caught lip syncing. All right, it's a known fact, and now you gotta ask that when he was touring with the Eagles, now I guess he's on a solo tour with Kevin Cronin and uh, what half of Styx, because that's the only way they can sell tickets. I mean, Don Henley by himself isn't the Eagles, and yet when he plays with the Eagles, he's the only Eagle up there. All right, so anyway, see, this is what I'm talking about brand over band. Okay, Kevin Cronin touring with the same band he's touring right now with as REO Speedwagon. Uh, okay, so he's got the exact same band, but he got outvoted. See, he doesn't want to be on this tour. He could make much more money. They made what was it, 150 to $260,000 a show, depending on what venue they were playing on what particular date. Okay. And I'm sure he's not going to be pulling in that. Probably the same size of venues, but see, it's three artists, and the lion's share will go to whoever, right? So he's got to do a share in that. So he's lost millions of dollars over this deal, and all he had to do, it was all in his power to keep it all together, but his ego got in the way, and he thought he'd use the brand. That's my biggest problem with Mick from Foreigner. All right. He was the only remaining foreigner member, and he replaced everybody. And then, he's touring with them, and then pretty soon he's kind of touring with them, and then he's kind of sometimes touring with them, and then he's not touring with them at all. And we now have a foreigner with not one single original foreigner member or a member that was responsible for all that wonderful music. And people are paying big bucks to see them. What their bass player, uh, Phil, what's his last name? Um, or is that his last name? He was just recently quoted as saying they're set to tour through 2027. Okay. So nobody there. Now, people are paying top dollar to see who? Foreigner, of course. All right. Every city, major city in America, has a four, if not four or five, foreigner clone tribute bands. All right. That can play it just as well as these guys and sound as close as these guys do to the records. And what's the difference? What is the difference? Both bands were never in Foreigner, right? But people will pile up to pay top dollar to see Foreigner, concerts and feel it almost beneath their dignity to go see a top tribute band who's probably playing better than this thing they call Foreigner now. All right, everybody said that the Guess Who had a legitimate claim to the name because their one-time bass player, who actually co-wrote American Woman, but he was out as quick as he was in. He was fired from the band, right? And a drummer that was with him the whole long time. Okay. And then everybody else was hired to sound like, well, the top two guys that we come to understand who are basically the guess who. They better be on stage for me to consider them to be the guess who, right? And of course, that's Randy Bachman, right? And what's his name? I'm having trouble remembering. God, one of the greatest vocalists in the world, great flute player. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But those were the guys that made the guess who they were, and the bass player got in there and got a temporary contract and agreement from the Guess Who to use it for a special televised event that he was going to be playing on. Then he found out that the Guess Who, and this is stupid of the Guess Who, they never trademarked their name. So he grabbed it real quick. Now he's the owner, right? Okay, so, and they were touring around. You go to Spotify and you look up the Guess Who, you saw the new members' pictures. All right. I mean, they had taken over the identity. By that time, the drummer wasn't playing with them, right? The bass player had already been behind the lines, just owning the name. And now this is the new Guess Who. Same thing as Foreigner, man. I'm telling you, same thing as Foreigner. And what is it about fans who go see these? See, I just don't understand that mindset. Uh, Fans who go see obvious fake bands. I have trouble going for fans who went to go see Kiss. Kiss were gone the second Peter Criss and Ace Frehley were gone. I've said this before. There's certain bands that should always be identified. This is in my latest video. I call them legacy bands with a capital L. All right. They are identified by core members so much that if any one of those core members disappear, they no longer become that band. In other words, it's the four Beatles, it's the four members of Led Zeppelin. Eliminate any of them, and you no longer have Led Zeppelin or the Beatles because it just works that way. I felt that way about The Who. The second Keith Moon passed away, The Who was gone. Yeah,
Greg Hughes gave you $1.99.
Oh, thank you, brother. That's the spirit. No, seriously, I always appreciate that. All right. Uh, uh, you guys are so wonderful with your super thanks and everything. Sometimes I get some really big ones out there. But you know what? People go, well, a couple of bucks won't help him. It really would. It does. And I always invest back into the studio. All right. What I'm streaming on was maintained and kept up and purchased by what I've made on the channel. All right. So everything here, the lighting, all of that has all been purchased due to me having the channel and people supporting it. So I always appreciate that. So anyway, I was getting back to this whole thing. We could talk about that. We could talk about, let's see, what else? Um, Bands who tour but never produce new music. In 2023, we had we had Paul Rogers' Midnight Rose. We had Jethro Tull's what was that? Rock Float. 72 Seasons. We had Mirror to the Sky by Metallica and Yes, right? Uh, oh God, Smashing Pumpkins released a three-part album. We had tons of great releases that year. Tears for Fears, right? Last year, 2024, the only two that floated up to the top, and I'm listening to the new Tears for Fears, so I'm still off on that. I haven't listened to it enough. I like what I hear so far, right? But we're the only great albums that I kind of heard this year. Maybe you guys could give me some ideas. Have I missed them? Was Deep Purple's Equals One and John Anderson's True album. Those are the ones that most impressed me to the point that I would devote a video for them. And in 2023, I couldn't keep up, you know? So rock and roll, it as a predominant form of music that's listened to these days is it has been diminished. We're talking about how about the where was this? Yeah, I covered that. Okay, good, good. All right, so those are some of the topics that I was prepared to speak about tonight, and whatever you guys want to talk about. How we doing, Kimberly? Are we caught up on all the? See, I'm new to this,
Yeah,
folks. I've never done this. It looks so easy. You know, I look so good on Royce because he does all this hard stuff, and I never have to worry about it. But let's see here. Oh, so edgy. The Cure in 2024 came out with their first album
yeah.
since 2008. You know, I am behind on The Cure. I just saw a video on it that was praising that, so I've got to hold back on that. I'm hearing good things about that. Thanks, oh so edgy. Um, see, yeah, yeah, Grand Funk. There's a reason for that. Uh, Unfortunately, you know, there's another band that needs to get their heads out of their asses. Mark Farner and Mel and Don need to get back together, bury all this old shit, perform as a trio too, you know, and just, you know, it would be such a major um, tour. I'm telling you, one of my videos, I even supposed, man, you know, if they could get Credence, you know, Doug and Stu back with John, and then get the Police together, these three bands, there wouldn't be a tour that could outsell that. You'd be seeing Taylor Swift run for the hills. I'm telling you, call it the triple threat trio band tour, right? You know, who could outsell that? I mean, the Police would endanger Taylor Swift alone, but with Creedence Clearwater Revival and um, uh, Grand Funk, who I think should return to and call themselves the full Grand Funk Railroad, and tour as trios, no additional instruments allowed. Make a big deal about that, right? And that would be oh, that would be one of those major tours, man. The you know the DVD sales alone, major money. So that's a good point, brother. Magical Mystery Tour, Yellow Submarine, Deluxe Remix and Release. What are is this happening soon? I hadn't heard this. Are they going to package these two together? That's probably the only way you could uh, really get Yellow Submarine. Unless, see, here's what they need to do: is get rid of Yellow Submarine and bring back the Yellow Submarine songbook. Has all the songs, I think, except for one. I can't recall that are in the movie. All right, and that's a much better album. That's they should just decanonize Yellow Submarine, and then all the collectors who actually have copies, you know, price will go up the yin yang. So that's good for the vinyl community. And just canonize Yellow Submarine Songbook. All right. God, I mean, the mix, even when it first came out, to my ears, was absolutely amazing. It was the first time I had heard the Beatles start to really sparkle beyond those older mixes that we had at the time. Good point. Oh, okay. Thanks, Dragon. Oh, is Angela in the Hi, Angela. I've already said hi to so many of you. Hey, Doc. Hope you're doing good. Good to see you. Doc was in earlier. Like I said, I this is the first official stream, but I did a 2.5 minute stream earlier today, and then before that, I did a 5 second stream. It was an accident. I was push button, Mungo, get it, that type of thing. You know. So what do you do? Let's see. Aerosmith. Question mark. Where are you going with that, David? I'm here. Here's what I've heard. Um, who was it? Which it was Joey said that rehabilitation on uh, The Voice for Steve Tyler is going well. So is there a future for Aerosmith? I mean, I don't know. You know, everybody's getting older. If that's what you were indicating, I love Aerosmith. All right. I had all their albums. I thought they were a top notch band. They're not in my top five or six, even seven, eight, nine, 10, but they're right underneath that. As a matter of fact, if you go to my About page, you know, you go to my channel page there, and then you click that About deal. I've got a whole ton of bands there that I consider to be the cream of the crop. Of course, I have my famed Mount Rock Olympus list, which is 13 bands, 12 Olympian gods plus Satan. You know, I'm sorry, Hades. Uh, Being represented. So I chose, 13, my top 13 bands. They're not on that list, but they're on the list directly below it. Anybody on that list is, to me, miles above anybody who's not on that list, right? So that's what I think about the band. I think Steven Tyler has been underrated as a vocalist. I think, and he's a top-notch performer. Love Joe's guitar. The whole band, when they're at their best, were top-notch. Loved them. Says, hey, Michael, when you going to do a Badfinger video? Yeah, I'm behind on that.
Gringo Pine says, when are you going to do a
Badfinger video?
When are you going to do a Badfinger video?
Yeah. I was just answering that. Let's see. I am behind on that. I've covered them in passing, right? But I really do. That's a good memoir. When I take a look at this back, I always review anything I do. Uh, that'll remind me. And yes, I've got to do a Badfinger video. They are one of the top bands in rock and roll. What a story! I when I first started the channel, I didn't want to do it because there were so many videos out covering the whole story. But I would cover it in a little bit different. But I'd also want to cover some of the tragic events, how they got together, what their connection was. The change from the Ivies to Badfinger was an interesting move. And of course, the death of two prominent members by a willingness to die, and the death of a third. And Joey's been very ill. The last thing I heard was he was at least responsive, but he was in the hospital. If anybody knows anything about that, please add that to the chat. But and here's the thing. Now, which album is that? Is that No Dice, where you open it up and then you got the Belly Dancer, which was my preferred side at the time, but then you turn it around, you've got it like all four of Badfingers? Is that the album that has all four of them pictures? Um, Take a look at um, Pete's face, cover his eyes, and tell me that isn't John Lennon. And then go over to Joey and tell me they didn't have McCartney in mind when they brought him in. I always thought Joey looked like a blonde Paul McCartney, especially in his heyday and everything. What do you guys think? Anybody else ever make that connection? Pete's eyes were too narrow set to look like John, but if you put on a pair of sunglasses over him, he's got that same nose, that jawline, everything. The same lips. I never could believe that. Let's see. Anything else here? Well, hi back, 45 RPM in Chicago. Love viewers from Chicago. Vance over there is in Chicago. Pearl, I almost said Pearl Jam. Zeppel. Yeah, I'm a little dyslexic. Yeah, I've got to cover them. There is no doubt about that. Oh, someone's mentioning Chicago. Great band. I just saw an article on them where they see a time. get ready, folks, where Chicago will be touring without the three remaining members. Can you believe that? All right. So here we go. Brand over band. I mean, we're getting Avatar shows in 3D from Kiss. Who else? ABBA. I can't wait till the Beatles come out. Never will go see that show. Um, and we have bands who aren't even bands anymore. They just got the brand, you know, and this is what we get. Chicago, three members out of what were they? Their original lineup was seven members, was it? Yeah, there's bass, guitar. Uh, you had the four horn sections, keyboards, drummer. Yeah, uh, that's seven. Yeah, unless I'm not counting right now. So, I mean, with three members, the majority of Chicago's gone, right? But three members, and it is a band that, it's like one of those bands like Yes. Now my favorite lineup of Yes wasn't the original Yes, or wasn't even the Yes off of the Yes album, which is one of my favorite Yes albums. My favorite version was the lineup of John Anderson, Steve Howe, Chris Squire, and Rick Wakeman and Bill Bruford on drums. Okay, I always thought when Alan White came in, and I'm a big Alan White fan. The one time I saw Yes, Alan White was the drummer, and he was fantastic. All right, there's no doubt about it. But there is a feel to Bill Bruford that no other drummer quite has. I consider him one of the top drummers in rock and roll. All right, and the band, uh, lost a micro step with Alan White, but Alan White is absolutely fantastic, and he better represented later styles that they would morph into, especially in the '80s. Right. All right. Let's see. What is the best lineup of King Crimson? I've said this before. I'm behind on King Crimson. I am reevaluating King Crimson because I was one of those fans. Back in the day, it was like, yeah, King Crimson's bad. No, it's Yes. No, King Crimson. And you almost don't buy King Crimson because the enemy camp, It's almost like Stones versus the Beatles of Prague, And I was in the Yes camp, and they supplied me with more than enough uh, Prog coming my way. I've never been an only Prog or a mainly Prog kind of guy. I like bands from all the subgenres of rock, right? So uh, Yes kind of filled the bill for me. ELP, especially Tarkus, I loved that. Some of the, Return to Forever, which isn't exactly prog, it's more of a jazz or anyway. You get into that. See, I have a broader palette, so therefore I can't narrow my gaze into one particular subgenre too much. Probably, I know way too much about the Beatles, uh, probably far too much about Led Zeppelin, and then my knowledge base starts getting slightly lesser. I know a lot about Pink Floyd. I know a lot about Bad Fair. I know a lot about my favorite bands, but not like I was their biggest fan. I can tell you what toothpaste Paul McCartney used June 5th, 1957. Uh, okay, I'm lying. You caught me. But I can tell you a whole lot about the Beatles, as many other excellent content creators here on YouTube can. Some of them ace me out, right? But I like to be aware of what's going on and everything, and try to keep up to date with a rock genre I feel that is being harmed a whole lot by, again, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doing its thing. Too high price tickets, using backing tracks, not playing live, not producing new music. I've said it all before, on and on and on. And it hurts rock and roll. There's just no doubt about it. Sid Barrett is my favorite songwriter. I was really slow to get into Sid Barrett. I really didn't give his album. I mean, I heard him back in the day and went, that kind of thing. And then when I had the channel, I started listening especially to that first solo album. Oh my God, yeah, uh, he is great. There is no doubt, and he is bound by the time he is in, just like Sergeant Pepper's bound by the time it is in. To me, that doesn't take away its greatness. Matter of fact, that makes it, you know, it's like almost Dickens. You read a Dickens novel, you know right where you're set in, what period of London and all of that. And Sergeant Pepper does a perfect job of that. And Sid Barrett, uh, I'm not saying he wouldn't have grown beyond that. I think he would have, but tragedy struck, right? And ultimately, matter of fact, for such a major scar, that's why I always pick Pink Floyd as my Hades choice of Mount Rock Olympus. They're my third favorite band of all time. Um, you know, they were so scarred after losing Sid. And I mean, they didn't even want to lose it. They brought David in to just cover the night Sid wouldn't show up. Pretty soon Dave's just there every night, and Sid rarely showing up. And even when he did, he wouldn't finish the show or something would happen. And it just so happened that David worked real well, got his guitar. Talk about vocabulary. I love a guitarist that is so well identified by their vocabulary. It can be nobody but, David Gilmour or somebody pretending to be David Gilmour, right? Carlos Santana has that same flavor. When you're listening to Carlos Santana, right? And Eric Clapton could be confused with some of the solos of Stevie Ray Vaughan, because that's kind of in the same thing. I'm not saying they don't have their own identity or vocabulary, but I mean an obvious vocabulary that calls to you whether you're a musician or not. You hear Carlos Santana and you go, "That's Latino rock, man." You don't even have to hear the rest of the band; just listen to his licks. And so I love both of them. Eddie Van Halen in my top 10. I'm probably more of a fan of early Eddie Van Halen than I am of Mach 2 or whatever they call themselves. Um, David Lee Roth is my preferred lead singer for Van Halen. However, Sammy Hagar, I think, is a better singer. Um, and one of my favorite and top vocalists in rock. I've lost a lot of respect for him, the way he treated Jason Bonham on this last tour when Jason had to bow out. And Jason bowed out because of a medical emergency. I believe his mom was ill. And then he's ready to come back, and Sammy's just permanently replaced him. And that's kind of a black eye on a brilliant career, as far as I'm concerned. I think Sammy did a great job with Van Halen. It's not like I don't like any of their albums or anything. I just slightly prefer David Lee Roth uh, ha- delivered his vocals with a sophomoric humor. There was always a sophomore, hot for teacher, all that shit. And that worked real well with the style of Eddie Van Halen. And to me, it seemed like Eddie Van Halen presented themselves as we are now the grown up version of Van Halen, with Sammy. And they did some great stuff. If, I haven't purchased any albums. I'm new to recollecting vinyl. I used to way back in the day, had a huge collection. Now I've got about 105, 6, 7 albums, something like that. Small collection, but I've only been doing it a few months. So, and I haven't gotten any Van Halen albums yet. And the ones I'm hungry for are some of the early ones. We'll just put it that way. Okay. So, anyway, tonight's stream is just going to be a real short stream. All right. It's kind of a test all, kind of thing. Like I said, in the past, I have contemplated doing a live stream, but I didn't know how to fit it into the channel, and I've kind of gotten the channel well balanced by now. You've got shorts that come out from me on a regular basis. You have videos that come out from me on a regular basis, as well as shared videos from Royce's wonderful stream. I occasionally share portions of what we do over there. All right. And I've also got a lot of the polls, moving real well. I felt now's a good time to do this. Now, how often am I going to do this? I don't know. Uh, I could see this morphing into maybe a once a week thing eventually, but we'll see how. I don't want to let go of other aspects of the channel. All right. I know that 2/3 of my audience don't watch live streams. That's what my analytics tell me. But I also know those who do watch live streams are often the most loyal and very connected people into your channel. And I always appreciate that inner core of folks that have connected to my channel. Those who consistently, all the time, they're just, you know, I practically have made up faces for half of you people. I see the divining dragon, and I see a face. No, I'm not going to tell you the face divining. No, no, that's my secret. But you can't help but do that. You guys through your comments have a personality, and I create this envisionment of what you are or who you are or what you look like, things like that. And I always have appreciated that about this channel. That's something, I could easily just give hearts, bop, 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 bop. But when I give a heart, that means I've at least read your comments. All right. And I always devote a couple to four, usually 2 to 4 hours after every video to respond to those who are first responding. All right. I like to be part of the dialogue, but then I got to get on to the next video. I'm writing it. So at that point, there comes a point where I'll read the comment. And then if you get a heart from me, that means I've at least read it. And it doesn't mean I disagree with you or don't agree with you or anything like that. I am on to the next video and everything. But then you have to understand, you guys are carrying on a dialogue by yourselves anyway at that point. And I've never wanted to let go of that of the channel. So balancing videos with comments, with sharing videos from Royce, shorts and polls, and now a live stream, I've had to work my way up to this point. Okay. And where it's going to go, I don't know. Now, I entitled this Michael Noland, The Bottom Line Fireside Chat. And I've always intended to call my live streams a fireside chat. That's why over on Royce, I've told him this, and some of you regular viewers will know that. That's why I put up a screen of a fireside behind me, is just to have a sit down and talk to you guys. I'm going to find a way where I can connect better with your comments on the next stream. I promise to do better. I always learn, sometimes slow, but I eventually learn. And if this is something that takes off in any way that's encouraging, I of course will find a way to inculcate it with the channel. That'll be up to you kind folks. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. I want to thank each and every one of you that showed up. I honestly thought when I accidentally clicked that thing today, I knew. I go, nobody wants to see me stream. I don't do streams. So I figured, well, let's do this stream, and maybe I'll get maybe one or two people who will show up. That's why I have my wife moderating tonight. At least her in the in the chat, I could see something happening on the other side, just in case nobody showed up. So I don't know how many of you have. I don't have any count, but I appreciate every single one of you. All right. Okay, so I'm not going to do my usual sign off and and all of that. I'm just going to say thanks for your attention tonight, folks. And these streams will keep it a lot more real. I prep for my regular videos, and I even prep a whole lot for Royce's video or his streaming. And I still am going to. And I'm so glad I didn't sign off yet. Here, folks, if you haven't subbed to Royce in the House, please do so now. You do me a big favor. This man has worked so hard to get this channel off the ground. It's gaining traction, and he is connected to this channel. So you'd be doing me a personal solid. Thumbs, thumb up his latest video. It's a great one. He's actually got over 500 views on it, which is a very well performing video for his channel. We just did a channel on Bob Dylan, and he got over 1,000 views, and that's because some of you folks are showing up, and we appreciate that. All right. Okay. Big shout out to Rachel's Ghost, who does it better than all of us together. She makes it look easy, and we appreciate what you do over there. All right, so I'm going to sign off here by saying thanks for showing up, and I'll see you in the next Fireside Chat. All right, good night, folks.